My game collection is starting to scare me. Like, literally? Any advice on how to start getting rid of some of it? I'm a little clingy.
Okay, the first thing is, I would say, is maybe stop having too much of a sentimental attachment to inanimate objects.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, it is. And it's going to kind of fly in the face of what I say in a minute. But first of all, you have to realize that these are just games. A lot of what you have is not expensive and can be gotten back if you truly miss it. That's something that I needed to realize when I started to get rid of my NES collection. Realize that most of these things, not all, but most of these things are obtainable again with very little effort. When you're looking at the games and you're looking at what you can get rid of, don't pick up a game. When you pick up the game, you have to look at it and say, can I live without this, as opposed to, do I want to get rid of this? If you're going through a stack of games and you're like, do I want to get rid of this? You will find every reason to kind of hold on to it. But when you ask, can I live without this? You have to look at your sentimental attachment. Are you actually playing it? Was this a gift from someone? Find good reasons to hold on to it. And I currently play this game a lot is a perfectly fine reason. But if you're trying to cut down your collection, you get to that bases loaded 2. You can get that again if you really decide you need it for $2. And
3-star game.
And you can get rid of it in a heartbeat. I think a lot of it is getting rid of the emotional attachment to some of this stuff. And I'm not saying the attachment to something that was given to you, but the emotional attachment you have to your collection if you're trying to cut stuff out. Your collection is not something with feelings. It's not going to be hurt. 75% of your collection is going to be affordable to get back if you really decided, hey, I didn't want to get rid of Danny Sullivan's Indie Heat.
Never heard of that game before.
No, not once.
I think you have to decide, first of all, what is your reason? Is it because it's not taking up enough space or too much space? Is it a monetary reason? Why is it scaring you? Is it the money? If it's the money, you have to realize that, hey, maybe having money to pay my rent is more important than owning an entire NES library.
Yep.
Or maybe I want to go on a few vacations a year instead of spending that money on new retro games.
Yeah.
Try to think a little long term, or think short term, medium term, long term. What's going to make you the happiest? And rationalize it that way. Maybe you create a few different piles. Games I must always have, and games maybe I don't give a shit about as much. And then start from there. Start with, it could be that, I know this is tough. Start with a few games and see if you can just deal with getting rid of a few games. What happens if I sell Dash Galaxy and the Alien Asylum?
The world does not end.
Yes. Will the world end in a couple weeks? Will I feel the itch to buy it back? Or then maybe I sell off a few more. That's basically what you started to do with your NES collection.
Yeah, I dipped my toes and I tested the water. I sold off a few games to see how bad I felt about it. When I realized that I didn't care, the whole collection crumbled.
You test the psychosis.
Yes.
And if you win, you win.
When I sold off a couple of Neo Geo Pocket Color games, I went back and bought them back about 5 months later. So I was like, okay, this is a collection I don't get rid of.
Oh, okay. And then maybe you keep the rare ones then to start. To be like, okay, I want to keep Godzilla 2.
Sure.
And be like, all right, that one might be cost me a little bit more, but I'll get rid of Godzilla 1. Isn't as much money. It's more common. Totally different games. You can look at a certain guidebook to see the differences. One's a strategy game. One's a action title with some beat 'em up fighting elements. Anyway, trying to make that natural, because I'm gonna get there soon. I always said Genesis. I'm looking at Super Nintendo and N64.
Yeah,
those three are gonna be cut down at some point.
You don't fucking touch them, ever.
I touch these.
Sometimes, but generally just in a sensuous way. But I mean, honestly, I don't remember the last time you told me you played a Super Nintendo or a Genesis game.
But Ballistics I'll always keep.
Well, I mean, it uses the same cover art as a Judas Priest album. So.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah.
Did they just steal it wholesale, or they actually?
No, I believe it was originally done for that, but probably not licensed out entirely for it.
Because this will be harder to get again.
Yes.
And plus, I love TurboGrafx 16.
You play it all the time.
Don't you give me that smug look. I owned it as a kid.
Every time I call Pat, he's like, I'm playing Turbo.